I'd like to share a trade union perspective on how this declaration can be improved. In general, we would share many of the concerns voiced yesterday around the clustering of the agenda of our vision into bullet points. In particular, of course, we're concerned about the fact that decent work has mysteriously disappeared from the priority areas. In fact, looking at the declaration as a whole, decent work has often been replaced by employment. And as I hope we all know, employment and decent work is unfortunately not always the same thing. So looking at what this means concretely, I would like to highlight a few paragraphs, starting with paragraph number 3, where we would like to see human rights, social justice, and decent work explicitly mentioned. In paragraph 12, on the challenges that we're facing, we would like to see the threats to democracy and fundamental human and labor rights, underemployment, and the shrinking space for civil society mentioned. And moving on to the vision in paragraph 15, we would of course like to include decent work and social protection systems here too. We would also express concerns around affordable water. Would of course want to see the right to water here instead. And going for something that is ambitious and inspiring, basic education should of course be free primary and secondary education. On paragraph 17, we would prefer to see an explicit articulation of all the fundamental freedoms. And on paragraph 18, we would want to spell out that women and girls, of course, should have access to quality education and that women and girls must have decent work, not just employment. On paragraph 22, the one specifically on education, we would want to see a mentioning of, actually a reaffirmation of the commitment to free primary and secondary education. I think this is something very concrete and something that would very concretely greatly improve the lives of millions. On paragraph 24, which I guess is the paragraph on goal 8, we would want to see income and wealth inequality addressed and some specific language on redistribution. I believe some other people have voiced some language on this one too. And we would want to see references to social dialogue and to social protection, including floors. On implementation, so paragraphs 30 to 37, we feel there's an overemphasis on the role of the private sector to generate resources and would want to see something explicit on the role of the state and the right to development at the beginning of this kind of sub-chapter on implementation. And preferably, of course, a reaffirmation of the obligation of states to guarantee human rights to water and sanitation, health and education. We would also want to mention that this, of course, applies to development aid and to loans, which must not be conditional on privatization or liberalization of public services. And then lastly, but not leastly, on follow-up and review, it seems to us that this chapter, sub-chapter, could be more inspiring. This should, of course, also be a call to action. So we know that reporting will not be mandatory, but it could be more strongly encouraged than it is at this moment. Thank you.